don't get offended, right?
Yeah.
We have to work on our tone on both ends of it, but realize, hey, we're just here to help each other out.
When I hear no apology, no, I'm so sorry about it. It will never happen again.
Yes.
Okay, get to the point.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
give me another fucking person.
It's a very human thing to put a tone in
Yep.
the text
It's
or in the
perceived
email. Like maybe
differently
you
as
send me
well.
an email and you're just being, like, I'm in a fast pace.
Treat people like humans and treat them kind,
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important as
Yeah.
well.
Welcome back to Multifamily of the Cuff. We have here a special case today. We're super excited for what Bree is coming, and bringing to the table. So, Bree, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We also
Good
have
morning.
Irene.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to Multifamily of the Cuff. This is episode number 5. Yeah. Welcome, Bree. Thank you
you.
for being here.
I appreciate it. Very excited.
Yep.
Bree, thank you. You know a little bit about what we're doing here today. Our purpose of this podcast is to bring together what we have going on, that is the multifamily and also the vendors.
Absolutely.
It seems that there is a miscommunication at times, and what we need to do here is to bring them together with knowledge and information from people that work in the industry that can teach them and guide them to perform better, to bring better services to the properties. Okay, I have a set of questions that I would like to share with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have one of them.
Yeah,
and-
but first let introduce
That's
yourself,
right,
please.
that's right. Before we jump into it.
Yeah,
okay.
we
So-
wanna hear about your experience.
yes.
And
Absolutely. For first and foremost, thank you guys both for allowing me to join you guys. I've
Yeah.
known you guys for quite a while,
Yeah.
so see the growth you guys have had over the years has been phenomenal, and it's a great pleasure to be a part of this today with you guys. But my name is Bree Scaccia. I've been here in the Tampa Bay market in multifamily for around 16 years.
Wow.
I am the property manager. A long time, right? You would never know. Get it all the time. But I'm a property manager of Novel Midtown Tampa right now. So my expertise is in new construction, but I also do stabilized properties as well. So I'm super excited, as I mentioned, to see something like this come to fruition, to come about, because I think it's much needed here between the vendor sector and with the multifamily side as well. So thank
Yes.
you guys so much for doing this.
Yeah.
And I know that you have this experience, and what is interesting with you is that you focus for the majority of the time, and since I met you, is in this new construction. You get into these new properties, you go through the construction phase, get them up and running, fill them up with residents, and boom, you go to the next one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you like that? That's interesting.
I love it. My backstory with myself is I grew up military, so I've traveled
Okay.
the world. I've been able to see different people, places, and it's been a huge thing for me to actually have to care about my residents and to help them find a home. My biggest thing for me is just not getting them through the door and leasing an apartment, it's making an experience for them and for them to be able to want to stay.
Yep.
So it starts off with the front line of our leasing teams and the manager being available and being there and having a heart. So it's super important to
Yes.
myself.
Now, Irene, see what you just said, and that makes a lot of sense, because now that with your military background,
Yes.
you have to have this front line of leasing agents that need to be there very aggressively to lock down this every prospect that comes through the door.
Absolutely.
And you have to have closer. But aside from that, it looks like you have the right idea to provide this experience for everyone coming in. It is not just because of brand new property, but also the whole entire experience that each prospect has to have in order for them to decide to stay with you.
Absolutely.
But I believe that you've done such an amazing job, and that's why you're very successful in every property that you've been
Well,
assigned
she
to.
has the right. You have the right approach.
Yes.
Like you are seeing it from the perspective that it's their home. It's not. It's not just like
A
you're not
business
leasing.
transaction,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just you care about people, and that's amazing. I really. That's what we always say here. Our client, and it's not your. It's not. I mean, it's not the property management. It's the resident at the end of the day, and we work together to serve them.
Of course,
Yep.
absolutely.
So, based on this experience that you have with the military, do you think that's actually have played a big role in the way that you have with your leadership when it comes to your team, because I don't see that often, and I think I see other managers making mistakes and not being able to scale, a property, because I know you've broken a couple of records of filling them up, to different occupancy rates. At a very fast pace. You have gotten to some goals, more than expected from owners, and that says a lot about you. I know that the regional, and I know how they the way they speak about you is very highly. So, what do you think that come from?
100% military background. First and foremost, I would like to thank our troops for their service.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
I grew up military, so I've traveled the world, like I mentioned. I've seen it, the dedication and the drive and the grit to go forward. This is a career for myself. This is a passion of mine, so I take it very seriously. And so for me, it's just not a 9 to 5, I mean, I get emails at 3 o'clock in the morning from me, right? It's because I care. I care about the property. I care about my client. I care about my management company, and I want us to set ourselves apart of having a strong team and manager that cares about the property overall. I'm not one that likes to be behind the closed door. Let me get out and get my feet wet, whether that's painting the outdoors of apartments, cleaning. You guys know that.
Yes.
Like, it's beyond that. So it's a true passion of mine as well.
Awesome.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So one of the questions I have, put in, we designed this for you.
Yes.
If you want to share, there's a common mistake most properties make when, common mistake most properties make, which affect the service providers. Something that that happens in the multifamily, whether it has been from your experience or any colleague of yours that made mistakes that put the service providers in a difficult position.
Absolutely. I very much appreciate my vendors and the services that we get. Communication is 100% key to me. There's a lot of people on our properties. For example, mine has 9. So if you're getting 9 different people with their opinions involved, you guys may get confused or not know what needs to be done. And then we have, upset managers, upset service supervisors, when realistically it was our mistake of not explaining and communicating to you guys what's needed, whether we have a visit coming in, if we need you there early one day, you know? So it's easy to point fingers and blame fault, but we need to take a step back and show some grace to our service providers, and, we're all human. But at the end of the day, give them the communication that's needed for all of us to succeed.
Yeah, I feel that's a very common thing that we have seen, during the time we have been servicing the industry. Is the communication. Absolutely. It's just like, and it's, as you say, like there are a lot of people inside the community, and then we get, like our people, they talk to the maintenance supervisor, and then I talk to you, and it's a lot of communication. I mean, it's a lot of things going on, and sometimes the important part of the requirement gets lost. Of course. And then we're like,
scrambling, right?
So, have you seen or have you taken an approach to fix it in some way from your own experience?
Absolutely. For us, I like to ensure that myself, my service supervisor, we speak. I'm at the office 7 o'clock in the morning. We have meetings every single day. We plan out our day, what's going to be taking place, what vendors coming in, what we need to accomplish. So we're both on the same field. I like to say with my service supervisor, he's my extension of myself. We're like a husband and wife at work, right? So we learn communication very well at work, and so he knows what I'm going to be handling for him, and vice versa, to ensure there's no conflict in what's needing to be done or said as well. So that works for myself and with my service supervisor.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you went to advise any vendor just to be patient with what's going on in the industry, that's something that you will tell other vendors, because sometimes imagine that our audience right now is a company that never done business with the multifamily and they have zero expectation, or they don't know exactly how it runs.
Yes,
these multifamily is a whole different beast compared to other
or they might think that it's the same as
right, or they might treat it, because one of the things I told Irene is that when I used to work at another company providing services, I noticed that the company will treat commercial, medical, or multifamily the same.
And it's not.
And it's not. It is definitely not. The need for the apartment industry is in a low, fast pace. than it is the commercial world. So, the vendor has to understand that when they're coming into the multifamily, they need to understand how, the speed of it. That has to do with how fast you guys are renting, how fast you need to turn a unit if it's, unit related. But it can be the roof, it can be plumbing, it can be all kinds of stuff. But the majority of stuff that you guys are, asking for it has to do with the resident for the most part.
Absolutely.
If something happened in the gym, and you have to send an email telling the resident they cannot use the gym,
Yes.
That needs to be done ASAP, because otherwise you're gonna get, tons of emails, how horrible it is and this and that. So you're trying to prevent that.
Yeah, I think everything is related.
Everything is related to
the building beside the one that I live at right now. They did like a complete renovation in the outside, and it was just an outside thing, but it has been
months.
Like I believe it's almost a year.
Wow.
And it's great. I mean, I like pass by every day, and I see it, and I can't, I'm like, if I'm the resident, I'll be like, oh my God,
What's going?
Yeah.
So what we'll say, what would you tell a vendor?
I think for myself, I will say this. I've had to go back to what you said, Fernando. I've had a vendor that was on the medical side for cleaning in my past that was like, I want to get into multifamily. I can do it. And I'm all for it. But he started and didn't realize, as you mentioned, that this is busy,
Yes.
right? I've had plenty of times I've called for a text, Fernando, I need help me, like today, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't have the infrastructure to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that didn't work out. He's like, I can't handle this speed. What I did for office spaces for cleaning in the evenings, this is way beyond what I
Yes.
expected. And I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
But it's a learning curve. I think for anyone that has never worked in multifamily, they have to do their due diligence and taking, I don't want to say a class per se, but go to these networking events.
Yes.
Go to FAA, go to BAA, get involved with the multifamily to see like what it's all about prior to committing. Because once you're in, you got to be in, right?
Or keep listening to the podcast. Listening to the
And
podcast.
this, absolutely.
Yes. So perfect. So if for that first question, we can say that Bree is mentioning and advising vendors that want to get involved with the multifamily to make sure that they get the right knowledge, the right information.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get involved with the apartment association in whatever state they're in, and get to know the actual property and do their due diligence before they jump in.
Of course.
Because it's a whole different beast.
Exactly.
It's really fast-paced. They need to make sure that they know that, cancellations are going to be right in a minute because someone else hasn't finished their job.
Yep.
Then they need it the next day at 7 in the morning because someone is moving in at night.
Of course.
So it is a whole different fast pace. So,
Yeah, they need to also, like, if you're providing a service and you have people working for you, like, it's not, if it's not you doing the, the job needed or the requirement, they need to also explain to their people, like, sometimes cancellation happen, because
Right.
that's a
a
really
thing.
good,
Yeah, they get upset.
that's a huge
Absolutely.
thing. Yep.
So I know this 2021 and 2022 has been super weird because it's a post-COVID situation. But I noticed that there's still management that they're not allowing anybody into their offices. Kind of crazy to me.
Yes.
Right, 2022 we're still going through that, but yes, we have to respect management decision. So, Bree, what do you think how COVID have changed the way businesses are being done today between vendors and management?
Absolutely. I am very grateful that my company allows us to go back to meeting. We're, cautious, but meeting with our vendors. That face-to-face interaction, I don't remember last time I seen you guys, right?
Right.
And even for myself on a personal level, you don't feel the same. You
Yeah.
enjoy this business, but, that changed us so much. And so I personally feel with COVID taking place and us not being able to have that communication factor, everyone's behind emails, right? Or text message.
Yeah.
But it's beyond that, let's sit down, let's have a conversation. If there's issues at hand, let's talk about it, And I feel like a lot of companies are getting too used to not having these, more personalized conversations. Oh, it worked for a year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
No, it didn't, right?
Yeah.
We were forced to, actually. We were forced to. There was no option to not do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yes.
But to maintain that philosophy, I think is not working.
It's
there's a
not.
point, we are human. I think we need interaction. We need to
do.
see other people.
Especially because, especially with emails and texts, it's a very human thing to put a tone in
Yep.
the text
It's
or in the
perceived
email. Like maybe
differently
you
as
send me
well.
an email and you're just being, like, I'm in a fast pace. I need this service right now, and maybe you're not gonna put like, hey, good morning, how are you? How was your
course.
weekend? Like, no,
Straight to the point.
I cannot
need this.
with that,
Exactly.
right?
So, and many people take that, like, oh, they're rude. I'm like, no, they're in a fast pace. And like, but if I go to your office, you're gonna be, smiling and, hey, I need this. So
Hey, you can be in the office. Hey, follow me because I'm in
Yeah,
the, I'm in the
yes,
road.
please, right?
Exactly.
Walk and talk, right?
Yeah.
So
And it's important for new people, for people getting into the industry, like vendors, to see that, because when we go to the office, to your office, and we actually see, like the boom, 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 you're like, oh, wow, okay, we need to.
yeah, I have visited properties that have some sort of friendship, and they feel comfortable. Hey, Fernando, I'll listen to you, but you need to follow me because I have stuff to do. So just talk and walk.
Yes.
So and it happens because there's only you said you have 9 people in your team, but you have a massive property. You
Absolutely.
have you have commercial. You have there's a
It's
lot
busy.
of pieces going on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I cannot imagine that if I go and visit you, you're gonna just sit there and chit chat for it.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely
Let's
not.
go, Fernando. Let's go.
Just but vendors have to understand that it have changed. In 2020, it was super cool to stop by, chit chat, have that one-on-one. But today, it might not be as practical anymore because I'm sure eventually we'll get back to it. But 2022, I still see a property that has a sign, appointments only,
Yep.
or mass required and stuff like that,
yeah.
or just email. So for new vendors, it's getting a little difficult to visit properties.
Yes.
So what would you say that the new approach will be if someone wanted to do business with you?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, let's research that company or that management company and see what their policies are, right? So you don't get to the door and plan your day and you can't get in. I'm a big proponent for scheduling with myself, and that works for me, right? Text message, pick up the phone. Hey, Bree, can I stop over tomorrow? What's your availability for the week? Just so I can give you guys that one-on-one attention as well, because you deserve it.
Yep.
So I personally think, just to recap that, is just learn the management companies, learn the policies, learn the managers, because every manager is different, right?
Yeah, pretty different.
I may be like boisterous, like, hey, come on in. And then
Yeah.
the next one, you may go to Miss, very standoffish. And so I just think that give vendors and, businesses the opportunity, guys. Like, let's stop on our end, on the multifamily side, from shunning people away. We're all in the business profession, and we all want to just help out and make an end goal successful. So,
Yeah.
Bree, there is a. So I've been doing this business for 4 years now, but I've been in the multifamily for 17 years. Myself and I've seen it
You
all.
got it right today.
So we're gonna do, and I seen I spoken with different vendors. I led groups for vendors in a network group that it was about 18 commercial companies that provided services to the multifamily.
yes.
One of the things I seen is I think that it gets underrated what the multifamily think about vendors. So if you have a cleaning, painting, roofer that provides services to the multifamily compared to commercial, the multifamily pays at least 3 times less than other properties, than the other industries. Then you have the fast-paced portion. Then the loyalty might not be there. So there's other factors that don't make it appealing for companies to do business with a multifamily. I run into companies and they say, I will never do business with them because they're chaos, they don't pay well, they take 45, 60, 90 days to pay. There's many negative things that comes to do that. So it narrows it down to the amount of companies that can actually or want to provide services to you because there's one factor, volume.
Yes.
There's volume. So instead of having 350 houses, I have one property that has 350 apartments.
Of course.
Okay, so that's the exchange. So people take the risk to do business with them because of the value, but not because anything else. So in that sense, it's a little difficult, when when property managers might not understand that you're not going to have a line of people just wanting to do that. You're a very selective option that you have. So it is important for a property manager to allow them to, so you guys can have options. And so this podcast purpose is to educate both sides.
Of course.
It's just how to get vendors to do business, but also the property management to understand who actually they have and what is the thought that needs to be changed.
Of course.
So that's something I wanted to just bring to the table as far as from the vendor side perspective.
Absolutely.
But as far as you, what do you think about loyalty? What's the loyalty to you when it comes to a vendor?
Absolutely. So I have vendors I've worked with for a long time that can pick up the phone and call, and we're like a family as well, right?
Yes.
I mean, to me, I know that I can count on that person. I can count on that company to be there, drop the dime. We both want to help each other out. They understand the fast pace, especially with me with new construction, and they actually have a respect, and I respect them for what they do and their teams do as well. So loyalty to me is just, to recap that, is just being there for one another and knowing that you have these vendors that don't have, that don't care, that they actually care and understand what we're going through, and that we can all come together as a family, because we are, and make sure that we all, succeed as well.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. What is your biggest pet peeve that service providers don't do?
Wow. So we all know, and I always relate back to my new construction of the past couple of years, is that sometimes they get into taking on these contracts and not knowing the volume of, post-construction cleans and knowing everything, especially at my price per square foot rents of my community, everything has to be immaculate, right? So if there's an issue, I just please ask our vendors to not get upset. We have to be respectful as managers, absolutely. We're all human. But hey, I have a unit that wasn't cleaned, right? Or the amenity area doesn't look great. I have my owner in town, and they rub their finger across something, and it's, don't get offended, right? Yeah. We have to work on our tone on both ends of it, but realize, hey, we're just here to help each other out. So my biggest pet peeve is I've had, other companies that it's just a combative argument all the time. I'm like, that's not who I am, right? I want to be able, I make sure you guys are paid on time. I think it's super important. But I also have expectation and duty to my client if they see something to make sure that, it's done accurately, right? So don't get frustrated with us, right? We both give each other some grace sometimes, and I think that's super important, because now it's just like, well, my cleaner would never do that, or they this is not dirty. I'm like, come over here for a second.
We always see that. I mean, at the beginning, it's a little difficult to understand that. At the beginning, you're like, oh, but why they're like that? Because, it's a fast pace, and you take everything like personal.
Of course.
Yeah. But I remember when we first started, we had this particular client that was like very, very like picky to say, to say a word to describe. And we loved it.
Yes.
It was crazy. Like we were like, and like our people, they were asking like, but why you keep, like working? Because they're like super, because we're learning.
Yes.
I mean, they are, if we get to the point that we can, we can provide the service this person is requesting, then we're going to be able to do anything for anyone.
Absolutely.
So we're just learning from them. Like it's not personal, because that's as you're saying, like it's not personal.
It's
like
not.
they're,
It's
I mean,
business.
if you miss this, like, I mean, you have to do it. Like it's just, that's your job.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we love that. Like when I mean, it's a little difficult at the beginning, but then when you really get it, and you're like, it's not you talking to me. It's just like, that's your job, is making sure that the product that you're providing to your resident, it's like,
Of course.
up here,
Of course.
and we have to make sure that we are doing that for you.
Absolutely.
So let's say your pet peeve will be not to argue.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it
No
personal.
person. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
that will be for anything, because I mean this remember, our audience here, they do provide all kinds of different services.
Yes.
Roofing, staffing. Let's say staffing. What will be for you if a staffing agency said that they're going to send you a leasing agent and the person didn't show up?
Of course.
So not to argue about it, just trying to come solutions.
Accountability is huge with me.
Okay,
exactly.
perfect.
Yes.
Just to accept it, one of the things that we have here in Pristine Concept, and I usually don't like talking about the company.
Yeah.
I don't want to be biased, but it's just when we speak, we don't use any negative word.
Yes.
You will never see us saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies." As soon as you just send us a complaint, I'll respond. 99% of the time is Bree.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We already know. We are aware of the situation. We'll send someone right away.
Absolutely.
Right there. Boom.
Absolutely.
All you're asking is for us to solve a problem that we caused.
You don't want to hear no apology. No, I'm so sorry about it. This will never happen again.
Yes.
Okay, get to the point.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
give me another fucking person.
Yes. And that's the thing, though, too, like what you said, Irene, like we're all learning,
Yes.
right? So I do think it's important. From hey, this is the issue at hand, because how do you know if we're never bringing it to your attention, right?
I would never know. Exactly.
I'll never know if you don't bring it to my attention.
Right.
If my team member is being disrespectful,
Yes.
obviously, which I do not go for whatsoever. Treat people like humans and treat them kind,
Right.
So I think that's super important as well.
Yes, yeah. So now there's something important when it comes to providing services, and this is one of the advantages that I do have because I have taken my time to understand numbers.
Yes.
Numbers is super important when it comes to multifamily.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line of everything.
Yep.
So when I have asked, when we do sales training and anybody that gets on board, I put owner or investor.
Yes.
And then I do residents.
Yes.
And then everything in between, right?
Exactly.
So, and then I put, I said, I put the management company and so forth and so on. And I asked everybody, who do you think the most important person in this diagram is?
Yes.
And they all say, oh, the owner, the investor, the property management. I'm like, you're all wrong. The most important person here is the resident.
Absolutely.
That's where the money starts.
Absolutely.
Because without the resident, there is
have
no
nothing.
money. You have nothing. The investor have nothing. If the occupancy rate is below 70%, you're in big trouble.
Yes.
I'm in huge trouble. So what do you need? You need more residents. You need to
course.
fill up. You need to bring the occupancy rate up to 98 at least.
Of course.
For the investor to be happy and not to fire you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what do we say? That the resident is the most important factor in the entire equation.
Yes.
So what is the goal number a property needs to hit to be in the spotlight with the owners? And I said, as an example, it can be the occupancy, it can be the NOI. What is the actual number, and what is it that you guys look for when it comes to a whole full year?
Absolutely. So I'll say that's a broad. How can I put this? There's a lot, right? So depending on the owner. So some owners I've worked with in the past, they're occupancy driven, right?
Okay.
They want to be at that 97, 98. They want us to be that high. Then you have some owners I've worked for, not many, but they are more about the actual, they rather get rent growth, right? So they rather be at 92, but have higher rents. So for me, I'm looking at both, if that's, if I can say that. I'm looking at occupancy, and I'm also looking at our bottom line, right? We need to know what expenses to income we have, right, coming in. They're both super important. And so we have to keep an eye, and I'm very good at keeping an eye at that along the way. I do believe you do get what you pay for, so I'm still learning that over 16 years of my life, right? Because our market is super expensive, right? Just personally to live and to pay out and things like that. So we have to do a better job on our end of understanding why, our proposals are coming in higher than expected and things of that sort. So it may not be within budget, but we can go back to our client and say, hey, listen, this is A, B, and C, why we are exceeding that number that you have in place in that budget as well. So
now, are they realistic to the numbers that to the expectation? Because I have met several investors.
Yes.
They own properties, and they also invest in commercial, and then so they still cannot wrap their head around, especially if it's a new owner that getting into the multifamily, and they just looking at a NOI without having the right idea of expectations.
of course.
So that is the reason why they have to hire property management. They know exactly, to sit down with the owner and say, this is exactly how your expectation should be. This is why we do what we do.
Of course.
And then, So at the end, you are providing services to an owner.
Yes.
You are a vendor yourself as well.
Yes.
Because if you don't provide that end up number that these investors are looking for, they will replace you with another management company, which another management company is right there breathing in their neck, waiting for that
Opportunity.
And that happens a lot, So for you, that will be both sides, occupancy and
NOI, exactly. There's a lot of variables. Sometimes there's things that come up that we may not be able to meet that number. I've always had a great relationship with my clients. We're doing these budgets. Let's be realistic.
Yes.
We can put in what we know because we're boots on the ground. We're seeing it every day. With our experience, how much things are costing out there, and presenting that to the owner with an explanation of why it's that amount. You just can't go to an owner and say, "Hey, I need this amount, X dollars."
Yeah.
But why do you need it?
Yeah.
Explain it. My biggest thing is, we're a luxury community. We want to keep that luxury within our community. And so a lot of times, believe it or not, they're willing to listen to you. You just got to be able to have, to be not as nervous to bring it or present it to them, per se.
So
maybe the way you say it, it's not what
Do
you're
your
saying,
homework,
but
right?
It's not what you're saying. It's the way you say
Exactly.
it, like the way you explain to them.
Now, let's just wrap this up on the vendor side, because now the vendor has to understand what they're providing.
Yes.
And I notice and I teach them, that they need to look at the long run and the long-term relationship.
Yes.
Some of these companies want to make a lot of money with one service, and that's not how it works. You need to bring it down because, again, it's volume. This is not a one-time deal if you want to create a relationship. So, they have to have some sort of right expectation when it comes to pricing.
Yes.
But if they don't understand the money, how it flows from the residents all the way to the investor's pocket, and they don't know how to plug themselves in because they just don't know exactly how everything works and how important it is, the rent side, occupancy, what are the expenses for the property, because at the end of the day, if you guys are meeting that NOI at the end, then it's a big problem.
Exactly.
So, what we do here is trying to understand, and we do understand it, and how can we, in our job as a printing concept, our job is to try to minimize the expenses. So to a fast-paced turn, on the units. Because if you don't, then you're going to have that extra 2 days. So if you want to have a painter company that takes two more days, that's 2 more days that you won't be able to rent that unit.
Exactly.
So you pay a little bit of a premium, but have it a lot, done quicker. So now for property, because, we're going to have property manager not understanding this, and they just look at a price like, oh, no, this is too expensive. And then they toss it out. I have a painter that Pedro's painting and can do it for cheaper, but he's taking 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're losing out on that occupancy. You could have re-rented it and got that money in the back end.
Spray, and then
There's a problem the sprinkler has, right?
So this is what I'm saying. So a lot of them also are not educated.
Yeah.
So because they jump and they throw this person right there to be a property manager, but not understanding numbers.
Yes.
Of course.
So this is something very important for our audience to understand the numbers and trying to understand the numbers and what it is. So don't look just for the price.
Yeah.
What is it that these vendors provide? They're offering. Is it a fast pace? Are they available on the weekends? Also, holidays. Do they work late? Because we have
accidents happen all the time, right?
Right. So it's about looking at the end, at the end number, and especially you do it quarterly. I'm assuming, and by the month you're closing those books, making sure you're reaching to every goal.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So as soon as you see a drop, you start making changes.
Exactly.
So it's important. When do you see in changes, and what is the month that you might start changing vendors?
So for me, obviously, it goes back to what our management company's policy is with that. Like for me, I take it a step further. I'm looking at my financials on a weekly basis.
Oh, wow.
OCD about that. So I know, obviously, if we have money in a category monthly, we need to use it if we're needing to.
Yeah.
So I do that. So I always tell vendors, again, go back to knowing that property manager and ask. Don't be afraid to ask them, him or her, like, hey, when's the best time for me to check in with you? What's important to you? What's your end goal? Things of that. Let's work together again to get to that bottom line. And so I think that's super important for us all to do.
Where I learned this? I used to be in sales for another company.
Yes.
And I sat down with this property manager and I started telling everything I knew about fire sprinkler.
Yes.
And I saw her face, and she was like, I mean, she was just like, and she said, "Let me stop you right there, Fernando. I give two shits about how much you know about a sprinkler. Can you fix it or can you not?" Yeah. I'm like, shit. That's when I learned. I said, the less I say, the more that, I can say, listen, Bree, I can help you solve it.
Yes.
You don't need to know how it's gonna get done.
The back end, right?
Yeah. especially in that type of service that is like very specific. Like you don't like what?
I was throwing codes there, and she's like, "Okay, are you done?" Because I don't really care. Can you guys fix it or not? So I learned how to do my approach better, you know. And I went through different obstacles and trying to understand it. Now, if I speak your language, if I took the time, and this is what I tell vendors. Learn their lingo.
Yes.
Know what's important to them. Don't talk to them about what you know. You're being hired because you're supposed to know what
you're doing, right?
Yeah. Now, they care about what you know about them.
Yes.
So because that's going the extra mile.
Yeah. Exactly. So if I'm talking to you, about, hey, listen, I can decrease the lease to law, the loss to lease in your property, and then I definitely can increase your NOI. NOI, you're gonna be like, oh, this guy knows.
He knows his stuff, right?
Yeah. He knows speaking my language.
Now I'm gonna listen to you.
Yeah. So and then when you're gonna have this prospect coming in. Okay, he's talking about prospect, and then he signed the lease, and then the resident is gonna go to his new home. Yes. I'm talking your language.
Exactly.
You're gonna be, this guy knows. He knows,
what we go through on a daily basis. Yes.
But this guy come and say, when you have somebody coming and signing a paper, and then he's going to the apartment and the apartment complex, and that this person is not talking your lingo, he hasn't taken the time to really understand.
Of course.
So it is important, and I tell every vendor that I had my chance to coach, is that they need to learn the lingo. They need to understand how the property works. And it helped them tremendously because they're going to get your attention.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
And to wrap this up, for sales, and I know this is important, especially for small companies that need to get into the multifamily and have no clue how to break it into the property. Yes. I have gotten, many questions on how to get their foot in the door.
Absolutely.
Talk to them. So, self-question: how do you like to be approached when a service provider is trying to get your business?
Absolutely.
In particular, Bree. This is
for me.
Yeah.
So for me, like I said, I'm a person-person contact. I do stay pretty busy, but stop in, give me a call. You guys know I'm always behind my email. I'm working on that, but send me an email. Hey, let's schedule an appointment. I think that's super important. That works for me because I feel like we need to give people a chance. Again, this is a business. Let's get to see what they're having to offer. And let's try to see if we can build a relationship as well. What does not work for me, please don't come in talking negative about someone else. I do not like negativity. I've had vendors stop in that I've never met, and the first thing is talking negative about the X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
the other company.
I'm not a negative person, right? Yeah. So you're starting my day off in a bad vibe, and I don't like that. So let's change our approach, right? Yeah. Let's be positive. Show me what you have to offer. If I'm very happy with my vendors, I'm going to tell you that. I think it's very important. Hey, I'm super happy with X, Y, and Z, but definitely things may change. Go ahead and give me the information you have at hand, and we'll be in communication. And follow up. Yep. Just like for us as, multifamily, we have, people that may not be able to afford our community or want to live there. We follow up the next year because things change. People's lifestyles change. The same exact thing for vendors. Don't give up. Keep trying hard and stay driven on what you guys have to do.
Yeah, or you might need two companies to do the same service. Of course. Because,
maybe
it's
a
fast pace.
Exactly, absolutely.
So don't feel bad if, if someone says, hey, I'm happy with this company. Yes. Just don't feel bad and stop,
Of course. Don't give
up.
Not
that you're going to keep,
up. Do not give up. We're growing substantially here in Tampa Bay market, multifamily, even with COVID, the rent growth that we're seeing, don't give up. There's new communities or rehabs coming in left and right every single day. So keep pushing forward, and there's going to be opportunity at hand for you in the future.
Yeah, so perfect. So to wrap this up in this last question, you said, no, don't be negative.
Yes.
Don't talk bad about other companies.
Correct.
I mean, huge.
I love that.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the same as you. As soon as I have someone, offering me a service for our company, and their first approach is to talk back, bad about the company I'm using right now, I'm not gonna listen to
just
you.
stop.
I just stop here. Nope.
And Bree and Irene, even when we're hiring people as well, when we hire people and that person is coming and negatively talking bad about the last
The
employer,
company where they
Yeah.
were
and
working.
we don't do that.
Of course,
So
absolutely.
you say you can just resume it and say, it didn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's
it
the
wasn't
reason
for
why.
me.
It wasn't
you know?
for me. That's it. Because the majority of the time when the person is coming in and bashing the other company, it's because they did something.
Of course.
So
This is true.
it's true. Most of the time it's gonna be true. So thank you for bringing that. So let's just say that negativity and don't talk bad about other companies, and make sure to try to build that rapport with you.
Of course.
And then that's perfect. So I'm sure for the audience, that after listening to Bree with the stuff that she had to say,
Yes.
I am sure that they can start making. I'm sure they're gonna be taking notes.
Yes.
And to how now approach you. So everyone that we have this question is going into the same trend. Trying to build a rapport. Don't come and trying to get business and get mad about it if you don't get it.
Yes.
So it's important. So.
Absolutely.
So, Bree, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It was great. I had so
Yeah,
much fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has
Absolutely.
been amazing having you here. You have shared a lot of great information for both sides, and it's just amazing having people like you coming here.
I appreciate it. You guys have been fantastic.
Yeah. Thank
All
you
right,
very
so
much.
we're wrapping this up. This was episode number 5. This was with Bree and Irene. Thank you for listening. If you can, please leave us a review on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. That will truly appreciate it. Well, stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
guys, if you have any questions or suggestions for us, remember that I'm gonna put the email in the comments, and just send us an email for any questions and suggestions.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.